APEC Trade and Investment Committee discusses bold actions. Bill drafted to address issues facing people living with disabilities. And Manam Care Centre residents still awaiting promised resettlement.
This is National MTV News with Helen Sayer.
Good evening and thank you for joining us for Friday's news. Faced with increasing protectionism and digital disruption in global trade, delegates at the APEC Trade and Investment Committee this morning discussed bold actions for the region's economies to take to ensure digital interconnectivity. SOM Chair Ivan Pomalu reiterated the need for inclusion between economies in an effort to make sure that no one gets left behind.
This morning is on digital trade, and it recognizes the fast evolution of rules and how domestic, regional and international frameworks have come about, including FTAs, and how they are addressing those issues. The challenge is to make these opportunities relevant to everyone, including the SMEs and the different sectors of the economy. And that obviously means addressing the whole question of inclusion, data security and important local regulatory environments.
The Papua New Guinea government is drafting a bill to better address issues affecting people living with disabilities. This was announced during the Group of Friends on Disability Symposium today by Minister for Youth, Religion and Community Development, Sore Eoe.
The Group of Friends on Disability Symposium is one of the discussions leading up to the second senior officials meeting for APEC 2018. In this discussion, APEC member countries speak on how they are addressing challenges facing people living with disabilities in their countries. Focus of this particular discussion was on using digital technology to address some of these challenges.
Also on the position of women with disabilities as well. So those are the objectives of our forum, our symposium today. And so we will be looking at each economy coming up with our individual action plans.
Papua New Guinea is amongst countries in the Asia-Pacific region that have an estimated 650 million people living with disabilities. Further research from the World Health Organization states that 3/4 of these 650 million live in rural areas in developing countries. The challenge is to identify the different barriers that prevent those with special needs from becoming self-reliant or accessing education and health services.
For sure is that the overwhelming majority of people with disabilities live in rural areas. This is particularly the case in a country like Papua New Guinea, where access to remote villages and towns is problematic. In the mountains of the highlands, there are villages that might only be a kilometre apart, but are separated by impassable valleys. We have islands that require many hours by boat just to get to their closest neighbour. The problems that come with living with a disability in a rural or remote community are compounded by the lack of access to facilities and services.
Since 2013, the PNG government has started establishing policies that accommodate the needs of people living with disabilities. One such move is the creation of the 2015 to 2025 National Policy on People Living with Disabilities.
The theme of removing barriers, make rights real, and investment for persons with disabilities in a digital age. It indicates the importance we place on inclusion of people with disabilities. And in considering the agenda and the program before us, I can only anticipate rich discussions, acknowledging the pool of knowledge and experts who are here today to deliberate on this important agenda.
The discussions end tomorrow. Thekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
At least 5,000 Manam Islanders who were evacuated and taken to the care centers on mainland Bogia following the Manam volcanic eruptions are yet to be resettled. The care centers manager Paul Maburao says life at the care centers continue to be a struggle, and despite numerous government commitments, they are yet to be relocated.
In May 2017, we visited the care center and talked to the displaced people who voiced their concerns on the difficulties they faced. Care center manager Paul Mamburao says since MTV's last visit to the Potsdam Care Center, things have not improved for them. Life is a constant struggle. Food, water, and proper shelter are very difficult. Most of the school-aged children cannot attend classes, and those sick have no access to medical care. Many of the islanders use dugout wells to get water. In some instances, they have to walk long distance to the mountains to fetch clean drinking water. Several years ago, there was talk about relocating the islanders living in the care center to Anderum in the hinterlands of Bogia district. About 10 hectares of customary land was made available by the traditional landowners. A 10 million kina funding was made available by the government for the exercise. In January, the National Planning and Monitoring Minister Richard Maru said the national government would take ownership of the issue and would be pushing for the Manam resettlement exercise. Martha Lewis, National EMTV News, Medang.
De La Salle Secondary School at Bomana has had an eventful week. The past couple of days have seen the students commemorating and honoring the legacy of their founder, St. John Baptist de La Salle. He founded an institute in the Catholic Church for the purpose of teaching the young and the poor. De La Salle Secondary School Bomana is one of the first La Sallian schools to be established in the country.
De La Salle Secondary School at Bomana, in honoring the legacy of its founder, St. John Baptist de La Salle, celebrated Founders Week this week. The De La Salle Christian Brothers were first founded in the 17th century, and almost 350 years later, the teaching methods of the first brothers live on in over 50 countries around the world.
So today we had a Holy Eucharistic celebration with our Holy Founders presence, and the Holy Founders history was mentioned, and also Brother Provincial, Brother David Hawk is with us.
The celebration saw the students learning about the history of their school, tidying up their school premises, and competing in small sporting competitions.
Today is since the school is taken care of by the La Salle Brothers, and also it has a founder's name.
A homily was made this morning by visiting District Superior of the Brothers, Brother David Hawk. During this time, he encouraged the young men to offer themselves to service and to help others.
My visit to De La Salle this week is special also because the brothers have assumed once again the responsibility for the administration of the college, and under Brother Anthony's leadership I can see that there is change happening already, where the La Sallian story is going to continue to grow, building on those who planted the seed here back in 1946.
This was a week-long celebration which started on Monday and ended today. Lilian Soperakinea, National EMTV News.
You're at National EMTV News. We'll be back with more after the break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Huawei has introduced a new line of smartphones. They're the P20 series and P20 Pro. A major feature is a Leica triple lens camera, which can take a 360-degree image. The new innovative smartphone comes at a costly price, with P20 Pro selling at 3,299 kina and the P20 series selling at 2,599 kina. Both devices can be purchased at retail stores around the country. Godwin Eki reports.
Smartphone maker Huawei is pushing the boundaries of smartphone technology even further with the release of its latest flagship devices, the Huawei P20 series, including the Huawei P20 Pro. Huawei is bringing these devices into PNG and says the P20 is in a class of its own when it comes to both photography and technology, which is said to be the next must-have fashionable and functional accessory for Papua New Guineans to enjoy.
You will see that every element from the camera, the receiver and the sensor are all perfectly symmetrical.
The biggest part of the phones is their photography system, which Huawei says is second to none, built to take super crisp images, even in low light. Both devices feature selfie cameras with automatic beautification and 3D portrait lighting. The Huawei P20 takes photos in real time and recognizes the object, meaning the phone identifies more than 500 scenarios and objects from 19 different categories, while automatically selecting camera modes and settings to deliver the best possible image.
You're probably all familiar with OLED technology, Samsung TVs, LG TVs. You'll get the same quality on your phone that you will get on these technology in TVs.
The technology is packed into one small device with a 5.8-inch screen, Huawei for P20, and 6.1-inch screen for P20 Pro. It's easy to use anytime and anywhere. Other features include water resistance, 360 face unlock function, super speed charger, a world's first triple lens camera, 4K video recording and more.
All our latest technology, our phones have 4 antennas, one in each corner. What does this do? With the quad antenna, with 4, you get far better coverage. You may go from 1 to 3 to 4 bars.
Both devices are on market with the retail price of 2,599 kina for Huawei P20 and 3,299 kina for P20 Pro, sold at selected retailers in the country. Godwin Eki, National MTV News.
22 student teams from De La Salle Secondary School at Bomana participated in a school song competition today. These students were given strict criteria last month to create a theme song for the school. Today they fearlessly presented well-articulated songs before a panel of judges and their peers. A first of its kind, this event will make history for the school as the song that wins will be sung for many generations to come.
22 student teams of De La Salle Bomana Secondary School participated in a school song competition today. This is a historical moment for the school, as the winning song will be sung for many generations.
By Christian values for God and country.
Just finished their mass, then now they are going to have their school song competition. Because the school do not have or doesn't have a school song. So all school decided to have a school song for us. So we are starting our competition today.
Competition organizer Wenli Armani was proud of the students, saying that song compositions were all done by the students.
Students were asked to compose the song. They had to compose the song in such a way that it reflects the school motto, the vision, mission statements, and the 5 Lasallian guiding principles. So basically the thing that motivated us was that a school is an organization and it has to have a song. So when we go out there and to represent the school and we are asked to sing a school song, well, we have to have one.
After today's competition, 10 teams will be selected to progress into Audition 2. Student leader at De La Salle Secondary School, Bomana, Stanchen Turik, is the composer for his team's song and believes his team did very well.
Song to try to tell a story of the things that we do in the school that reflects those important things that we try to promote in our school.
Another student leader, Patrick Chi, says he is grateful for the initiative that the SRC committee has taken to organize this event.
Is going very well, and plus it's a new experience to us as students. We never done this before. This is quite a new thing to us, so Getting the students to write their own songs, it's quite challenging for us, and we think that it's quite okay. It's quite okay for us, and we enjoy doing this. And by the looks of all the students right now, we see that all the students they're really enjoying this.
Audition 2 will commence in 2 weeks. Winners for the song competition will win cash and also be remembered as history makers for their school. Lilian Soperakinea, National EMTV News.
There have been 8 confirmed deaths so far in the tribal fight in the outskirts of Wabeg town in Enga province. Enga Governor Peter Ipatas says the continuous fighting has denied the people of Enga vital services such as education and health. Ipatas, who is in Enga to receive 40 PNGDF soldiers from Moen Barracks to assist the police in Enga, has appealed to the Ki and the Kala tribes to end the fight.
Since the fighting started last month, Enga province has seen 8 deaths. 4 people were killed on the Ki tribe and 4 on the Kala side. The fight between these 2 tribes erupted during elections last year but was settled through peace negotiations.
These are individuals who are influenced by gunpowder, who are influenced by marijuana, and of course influenced as mercenaries who are actually taking ownership of the fights and are actually causing a lot of problem and a lot of inconvenience to our people in the province. And so what I want to state here is that, we want to put an end to this kind of fight. We want to see that the police are more proactive in their approach to apprehending troublemakers.
Business houses, schools, hospitals, health centers and livelihood of many have been disturbed by the fight. The Enga provincial government had spent 5 million kina during the 2017 elections to bring in the PNGDF personnel as preventative measures in the event of such situation, and has kept 20 of them in the province since. But Governor Ipatas says the situation has proven that more security forces are needed to control the situation.
What I see from my experience over the 21 years in office is that after tribal fights, there is no police follow-up in the process of trying to arrest and prosecute those perpetrators. And so, in a way, we as a government or authority seem to be giving license to criminals. I see that there is no respect for authority.
Governor Ipatas stressed that law and order issues have to be taken seriously by the national government, especially in the 3 resource areas of Enga, Hela and Southern Highlands, where law and order seems to be a major concern.
My mother's tribe, Kia, have not been allowing the law enforcement and law mediators to go into the tribe and to talk to them. So this is an unfortunate incident, and I'm calling on the Kia tribe. If this is a land issue, then there's a proper place to take this matter to, and that is the courts. I do not want other politicians or other issues to come into this conflict, and as a result, we're losing lives and property, and inconveniencing especially students.
He appealed to the 2 tribes of Ki and Kala to stop fighting immediately, as he would not hesitate to sit back and watch a small group of people destroy what Enga has achieved in the last 20 years since he was governor. Stacey Yallo, National EMTV News.
Tributes to the late Moses Tau continue to pour in from all over the country since the news broke yesterday of his sudden passing. Fans and local musicians alike have described his death as a major loss to the Pacific music industry. To many, he was a sensational singer who will continue to touch the hearts of people through his songs.
Musicians who had the privilege of performing with the late Moses Tau paid tribute to him outside the La Locale FM today, singing a song he wrote Helalo Une to bid him farewell. He was fondly described by many as one of the most vibrant musicians they had ever had the privilege to work with.
For me and my family back home in Fiji, Mother Moses, rest in peace. And there's nothing more I can say. It's too painful. Binaka.
You know, got another applause of Moses. When he's on stage, he knows what he's doing. The crowd knows what they expect from Moses, and we're gonna really miss that.
He's a real true showman when it comes to performing live. So, condolences to Moses Tau and his family, and much love, appreciation, rest in power, Moshanti.
I know some mantra, come up with some voice blow, turturu Moses Tau, also me. Sorena mi waris tredlo Prada Blue Yimilo Central Province Moses Tau.
I still can't believe that he's gone. Goodbye, my brother Moses. God be with you.
Moses, popularly known by many as Mashanti, continues to create ripples on the airwaves. Tribute after tribute from fans poured into La Locao FM last night from all over Port Moresby.
I'm just gonna miss his jokes now.
Oh yeah,
You know.
I love the way he looks after
Yeah,
before he performs.
exactly.
He just, like a mother, he just
Yeah,
takes care of
he's
you.
a natural. He look after you.
There was never a time that his song played on the airwaves more than the day he sadly passed on. Melissa Gafuro, National MTV News.
You're at Friday's News. We go for a break now, but stay tuned for more stories when we come back. Welcome back. Prince Harry and his bride-to-be Meghan Markle travelled to Windsor for their wedding rehearsal, but absent was Meghan Markle's father. It's been officially confirmed he won't be at tomorrow's wedding, so who will now walk his daughter down the aisle?
Comes the bride and her groom, arriving at Windsor Castle ahead of the biggest day of their lives. Meghan Markle smiling despite releasing a personal statement confirming her father won't be by her side on Saturday, saying sadly, "My father will not be attending our wedding. I've always cared for my father and hope he can be given the space he needs to focus on his health." Meanwhile, Windsor is stepping up the wedding preparations. 250 members of the armed forces involved in a dress rehearsal, including some from Prince Harry's former regiment, the Household Cavalry Unit, who'll be guiding the royal couple along the procession.
More than 1 billion people are expected to watch this very moment live on television on Saturday, hence the need for a dress rehearsal because there's no room for error.
Even the dry run drew the crowds.
So you're going to have a pretty good view on the day?
I'm going to have a very good view on the day.
Maggie's volunteering as crowd support, which means a 4 a.m. call time, but she says it's worth it.
The payment is being this side of the barrier. What could be better?
Today's carriage not quite the taste test some were after, though.
Not what I expected.
What did you expect?
I expected a nicer one.
It was a bit bland, that carriage, wasn't it?
If the weather lives up to its forecast, it will be open top on the day, but that's not enough to entice some.
I won't be here, I'm afraid. I'll be about 10 miles away, watching on telly. Better view on telly.
Matching the bid for perfection outside, the choir of St George's Chapel inside.
My impression is that they love one another very much. They're very committed to each other.
The town committed too. It appears everywhere is getting a facelift. Even new art. And after days of tabloid headlines, the focus appears to be back where it should be, on the happy couple.
It's a story Americans are always going to love, a screen star marrying a prince. The country was in thrill when Grace Kelly fell in love with the Prince of Monaco over 60 years ago. Now Meghan Markle is gripping fans across the US, and the American actress prepares to wed her prince.
Here comes the bride and her groom, arriving at Windsor Castle ahead of the biggest day of their lives. Meghan Markle smiling despite releasing a personal statement confirming her father won't be by her side on Saturday, saying, "Sadly, my father will not be attending our wedding. I've always cared for my father and hope he can be given the space."
Apologies for the technical error. Stay tuned. We have Tua Sports coming up next.
Tua Sports.
Welcome to Tua Sports. To cricket, 18-year-old Igor John Mahuru is a finalist for the SB Sports Awards Junior Male Athlete of the Year category. The young man had made his mark last year with the Under-19 PNG Garamut squad at the ICC East Asia Pacific Under-19 qualifiers in Apia, Samoa, helping PNG finish at the top.
I feel great because when I start playing, I give everything so that I can bring my country up to the next level.
At the age of 17 last year, Igor Mahuru was scouted for the PNG Under-19 Garamuts. For a grade 10 student, Igor always made sure he is present on all training days.
I went to school and then I told my teachers that I have training on that day. They let me to come and train with the boys on the training days.
The youngster who plays for the Badili Wanderers in the Palm Cricket Association eventually made it into the squad to compete at the East Asia Pacific qualifiers. And like the rest of the team, that was his first ever international tournament. The decision to put him as the opening batsman was one the Garamut's coaching team did not regret. Igor topped the run-scoring tally for the whole tournament with a total of 170 and an average of 42.5 in the 5 matches. He was awarded a Best Batsman award for the qualifier.
2017 APEC qualifier, we went to Samoa. It's my first tour and I was really excited and looking forward to play.
And that was a performance that did not go unnoticed, as this promising cricketer now holds one of the finalist spots in this year's SB Sports Junior Male Category Award.
It means a lot to me, and especially my family. My family are very proud of us, and my senior boys playing at the Baraman, Legacy, John Bogerewa, especially some of my other clan boys. Yeah, they are very proud of me. They encourage me to train hard and play hard, so that one day I can be there with them.
The 18-year-old with only 2 international tournaments to his name still could not believe that his name was announced as one of the finalists.
It was surprising. Our media told me that you have been nominated for the SP Awards, and I got shocked. And I give thanks to the Lord.
Dinero Striker, National EMTV Sports.
The NCDFA 7-a-side Southern Conference tournament will kickstart the first leg of the 7-a-side format competition in the national capital next weekend. Following the successful staging of the pre-season challenge, the coordinators are hoping the Southern Challenge will draw much more interest from the general public.
The preseason 7-a-side competition has one way or another sparked the interest of football followers both in and around the city, with exceptional club interest shown by registered teams. The Southern Conference peaks as the start of PNG Football Federation's exciting calendar of events, with the Wantoks club setting precedents in both the men's and women's division. The challenge is now on for the next best team to rise above the occasion at the Southern Conference leg and steal the limelight. Competition boss Vonnie Capinato says FFPNG's efforts in ensuring that football goes right down to the streets of Port Moresby is paying dividends after witnessing a huge participation in the lead-up pre-season playoffs. Meanwhile, the looming battle of the conferences, the Champions League and the National Premier League titles just around the corner, and Capinato is hoping that the interested teams can register as soon as possible before competition kicks off. Ms. Nato said the affiliation fee is only 500 kina per club and player registration is at 20 kina for senior players, while the juniors is 10 kina per player. Shane Saroya, National, EMTV Sports.
To softball, United Brothers and Brown Eagles will face off for the first time in Port Moresby Men's A-grade softball grand final tomorrow at the Bissini Diamonds. On record, both teams have yet to win a grand final in the newly built Bissini Sports Precinct Diamonds. However, old memories will still linger for some of the senior players and club officials of the old venue. The decider will see the young Eagles outfit testing their bats against the more experienced Brothers for the 2018 titles. Meanwhile, the Brothers have claimed one premiership title but lost two in their three grand final appearances. Trukai Sports continues with more after these messages. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. Toti City FC has secured their third minor premiership of the National Soccer League after finishing first with 32 points on the competition ladder. Having an unbeaten run after 12 games, the Peter Gunamba coached side now looks to retain the NSL premiership. Gunamba said his side has achieved their first goal to win the minor premiership, but have one more goal in the NSL, and that is to retain their title. The premiership winning side said they've achieved what they set out to do, topping the competition ladder and securing another premiership title. Toti City's minor premiership also automatically qualifies them to participate in the OFC Champions League 2019 for the fourth time. There's confusion whether New Zealand rugby ranks over which of the women's teams takes priority, 7s or 15s.
In 2017, Sarah Goss was part of the World Cup winning Black Ferns. This year, her role is to lead the Seven Sisters to more silverware. So there's confusion around player availability for the historic 15-a-side test in Chicago later this year.
We don't know what's happening at the moment. We sort of just found out about it.
Newshub understands each year New Zealand Rugby makes a decision on what code takes priority, depending on the fixtures list. In 2018, the Sevens World Cup trumps 15s.
I'm not expecting many of the Sevens girls will be available, but who knows?
Will you be happy to let your players go, like Portia and Sarah?
You know, these players that are back home, that ain't on the trip, they need experience. I think that'll be great.
New Zealand Rugby blocked us from speaking to any of their cross-code stars on arrival to Auckland this morning, but they did send us this statement on behalf of the head of women's rugby, Kate Sexton. She said both coaches are open-minded about selection and already work together. And when the time comes, the NZR will make a decision based on their own high-performance goals. That time will come next week when contracts are signed for the 15s game.
It's highly unlikely that there'll be any that cross over, but once again it'll just come down to us sitting down as a group and working through what's the best for the development of the game as a whole.
Until the NZR find a way to share its talent around, stars like Portia Woodman will be restricted to scoring tries in one format, not both.
New Zealand's most kept footballer has announced her retirement, and this time it appears there's no coming back.
Playing a leading role in this month's historic collective bargaining agreement, Abby Erceg's strained history with New Zealand football took another turn today, walking away from the team for a second time.
She was not feeling that happy coming back again, and she wants to focus on her team in the USA.
Erceg accepted an invite from new coach Andreas Haraf to come out of retirement to face Scotland in a two-match series in March. She didn't take part in the opening 2-0 loss, apparently due to illness, which she later denied. Now, 2 months later, she's quit again.
If you have already played 80, 90, 100 caps maybe for your country, and then there is a new environment, and maybe you play a different position, you play on a different side, you play, maybe you don't even play, maybe you're substituted, that makes you maybe a little bit feeling uncomfortable. And I think that happened on that tour.
Newshub understands Erceg was unhappy with the professionalism on that tour in Spain and won't comment on her decision to retire. Speculation remains officials wouldn't let Erceg air her views.
We didn't stop anyone to talk, so it's up to everyone to talk and to say whatever you want.
While Erceg appears unhappy with the new regime, the current squad have no issues.
From all my experiences working under Andres so far, it's been really positive, and I think we've got a great team culture.
So as the football ferns enter a new era on equal footing with the All Whites, they'll have to do it without their pioneering player who got them there.
And that ends Trukai Sports. Up next, the weather details for the next 24 hours.
Trukai Sports. True Sports.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
Weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow. In the southern region, Port Moresby fine with although partly cloudy. In Daru, fine and windy. In Kerema, evening shower or two. Mostly fine in Alotau and a shower or two in Popondita. In the Mamase region, a shower or two in Ley and fine although partly cloudy in Medang, Wewak and Vanimo. In the New Guinea Islands region, mostly fine in Lorengau, Kavieng, Rabaul, Kokopo and Kimbe, and fine, although partly cloudy, in Buka. And in the Highlands region, a few showers in Mount Hagen, Mendi and Wabeg, and fine, although partly cloudy in Goroka and Kundiawa. Forecast for small ships for the next 24 hours. Strong wind warning current for all coastal waters of southern PNG-Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island. Waters of southern PNG-Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island, seas of 2.5 to 3 meters. Waters of Kiwai Island to Kerema, to Yule Island to Hood Point and Samarai Island, seas of 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Waters of eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, seas of 1.5 to 2 meters, and waters of Samarai Island to Cape Vogel to Finschhafen, with waters of Finschhafen through Vitiaz and Dampier Straits to Siasi Islands to Long Island, with waters of Long Island to Medang to Bogia Wewak, Aitape to Vanimo and northern PNG-Indonesian border, with waters of Manus and its western group of islands, and with waters of New Britain to New Ireland and Bougainville, seas of 0.5 to 1.3 meters. Ocean forecast for PNG areas. In the Coral Sea, seas moderate to rough with southeast winds at 20 to 34 knots. In the Solomon Sea, seas light with southeast winds at 10 to 15 knots. In the Bismarck Sea, seas light with east to southeast winds at 10 to 15 knots. And in the Pacific Ocean, seas light with northeast to easterly winds at 10 to 15 knots.
The weather details were proudly brought to you by Dulux, celebrating 50 years in PNG and the only paint made in PNG.
And before we wrap up the news, Enga Governor Sir Peter Ipatas has made a stern call to the national government to take law and order issues seriously, especially in the resource provinces of Hela, Enga and Southern Highlands. He said PNG government should consider revisiting the enhanced cooperation program with the Australian government, as PNG police have proven in the recent past that they are incapable of handling criminals who instigate tribal fights.
For all development to take place, security and safety must be guaranteed. Enga Governor Peter Ipatas says tribal fights in the Highlands has seen no arrest and no follow-ups by the police. His comments follow ongoing tribal fight in his province.
Law and order is the biggest number one issue for this nation. For the last 5 years, I've been talking to the government that I'm part of to try and address the law and order situation in the country. When we are talking about economy, how to grow the economy, how to improve our people's life, it boils down to security.
He said the government should humble itself and admit the fact that it needs assistance in terms of handling law and order issues in the country.
Call for this government to revisit the ECP program that was initiated by former Minister Biri Kimasopa. Police has lost the way. We must admit this. And I think that they've become the biggest liability to the state. If you want to fix it, you will not fix it by training more and more policemen. The young men and policemen that are coming out of the Bomana Training College, as soon as they go to the field, are mixing around with people, police men and women already there, who do not do the right things. So what are we achieving?
The ECP, or the Enhanced Cooperation Program, in 2003 saw the Australian government providing assistance to increase capacity of PNG to develop good governance, especially in the areas of law and order and justice, finance management, economic and social progress, and public administration.
Humble ourselves and say, yes, this country has a serious law and order problem. So we can call on the Australian government, whose taxpayers are willing to support us with the troops. It must start from the training of police officers all the way down to actual policemen on the workforce in the police force.
IPATA's appeal to the national government to address law and order issues with support from Australia. He stressed that calling in PNGDF personnel into provinces to control law and order issues instead of protecting our borders only goes to show that PNG needs help in the areas of domestic security.
Once again, call on the government to seriously look at asking the Australian government, give the troops immunity. Why can't we give immunity?
Stacey Yallo, National EMTV News.
Before we go, here's a recap of our main stories. APEC Trade and Investment Committee discussed bold steps for digital connectivity in the region. Bill being drafted to address challenges facing people living with disabilities, and at least 5,000 people in Manam care centres still waiting for promised resettlement. And that's the news, sports and weather for today, Friday the 18th of May 2018. On behalf of the entire EMTV News team, have a safe and enjoyable weekend. Good night.